Week 3 of Overwatch League has been so phenomenal and full of surprises that I had to talk about Week 3. The first 2 weeks of Overwatch League transpired as I had predicted, with my top team picks staying undefeated and the obvious underdog teams staying at the bottom, while fan favorite players of Dallas Fuel struggled with their volatile roster. But Week 3 changed everything. We got some of the best playmaking moments in Overwatch yet. Some mind-boggling, unrealistic, impossible pulse bombs, underdogs of the underdogs really upping their game, while the Dallas Fuel finally managing to secure a win. We saw all the top teams take solid kickdowns while we witnessed for the first time ever the fall of the Korean Titans. This is KanKicks going through the Week 3 of Overwatch League that changed everything.
Come on for New York Excel. No resurrect possible, especially not when you're dead. And New York, they might well have done it. They might have dethroned the Kings, declawed the Cats, and they are the new Kings of Overwatch League. New York Excel, they have done it. 3-2.
Let's start off with talking about Shanghai Dragons, seemingly the worst team in Overwatch up against the undefeated champions of Overwatch League, the Seoul Dynasty. Who cares? The Shanghai Dragons would be crushed anyways, I thought to myself while I was busy working, drinking up my coffee. But then, on my iPad running on the side, I caught a glimpse of Shanghai Dragons actually holding Seoul Dynasty in overtime on Numbani. And I was hooked. I quickly fired up my monitor and what a treat it was. Shanghai Dragons were pulling their weight against Seoul Dynasty, the 14-ton gorilla of Overwatch League. I was amazed at Shanghai Dragon holding their own up against the likes of Seoul Dynasty. They were actually so close to winning this. It was just an outstanding performance by Shanghai Dragons. Starting with the first map on Numbani, Shanghai Dragons showed how far they have come in such a short period of time. They had such close games, with Shanghai Dragons seeming to be the dominant team on Oasis. Shanghai Dragons even managed to pick up a point on Oasis before moving forward to Dorado. On Dorado, they stalled Seoul Dynasty on the map's second point for what seemed like an eternity. I am not kidding, it was like a 5-minute hold, which is nearly impossible on the second point of Dorado against any team. And doing this against Seoul Dynasty was just mind-boggling. All in all, a spectacular performance by Shanghai Dragons to make Seoul Dynasty even break a sweat. They would have actually managed to force Seoul Dynasty to a tiebreaker round if they would have won the Dorado map. Shanghai Dragons continues to evolve so fast that they might just become the dominant team in the mid-tier against the likes of SF Shock and all. And then there was the neck-to-neck matchup between the two LA teams, with the fan favorite LA Valiant versus the underdogs LA Gladiators, with LA Gladiators having Surefour on Pharah to start the match. A surprise pick because Hydration is actually a better Pharah. But we saw Surefour coming into life showing that he is no slouch on Pharah, and unlike Hydration, he is a much better flex player, flexing to keep LA Valiant a step away from winning their games. But just when it looked that LA Gladiators will win the match, LA Valiant performed a reverse sweep victory, with Soon's Widowmaker winning LA Valiant their first round on Ilios, while Hydration's Pharah, which was swapped for Surefour, took the second round for LA Gladiators, proving that he's still the best Pharah in the league. But LA Valiant won the third round tooth to nail with 99% left on the control map for each team. And LA Gladiators, with just 1% away from winning the whole match, were robbed from it by LA Valiant as LA Valiant took control of the point, winning the map and giving LA Valiant a fighting chance. The LA Valiant capitalized on this chance and took on LA Gladiators on Junkertown, which was an exciting back and forth match between the two teams, but LA Valiant won the Junkertown, forcing LA Gladiators to a 5th tiebreaker map. And what a tiebreaker round it was. Both teams loggerhead with each other, but in the end, LA Valiant won the tiebreaker round tooth to nail, performing what I feel is the most amazing reverse sweep victory in Overwatch yet. With big thanks to agilities on his Genji, he was just excellent.
Goes Remix. OD ticking away. They'll get back just in time, and Valiant may have it. They may have it.
Hydration on the Doom Fist.
Hydration trying to stay alive, trying to keep his team alive. He's got the Mercy there, but that's not enough. Big Goose gets a kill on the Kareem. It's Battle Mercy time. But they need to get the rest of the teammates there. OT's gonna go so fast now. OT. Oh, they keep it going. I can't believe it. Valiant, they still have the edge though, but Remix got the DMEC onto Envy. You can't possibly tell me that Gladiators are gonna flip this back. It seems impossible.
Dead again, but that's it. It's gonna be Hydration, the last Gladiator on the point.
Valiant will win the battle for Los Angeles in a 3-2.
Then we have another spectacular match between Boston Uprising versus London Spitfire, with Boston Uprising being clearly the underdogs against London Spitfire, which comprises entirely of Korean players, who, by the way, have not lost till now, going 5-0 in the match. But kudos to Boston Uprising. I feel they are one of the most hardworking teams. They did their homework against London Spitfire and had planned out how every engagement will be played out by London Spitfire on each map. The London Spitfire still did not make it easy for Boston Uprising, making them fight for every inch with neck-to-neck matches all throughout. But Boston Uprising knew from the start what London Spitfire will pull out on each map. And so Boston Uprising, even though being a mid-tier team, forced London Spitfire to a tiebreaker round and ultimately gave them a taste of their first defeat. Boston Uprising were the first ones to defeat an undefeated all-Korean roster, proving that Koreans can be defeated. And it was as if Koreans were having a bad week, with Philadelphia Fusions taking on NYXLs, with Fusions being just an average team going against another undefeated Korean roster of NYXL with star players like Pine and CBOB. But Philadelphia Fusions played around their star DPS player Shadowburn's Genji, using their tanks to create space for the DPS lineup to work up magic. It was here we see Carpe's Tracer jetpacking into the air and pulling out a pulse bomb moment that happens once in a lifetime.
This is going to be pretty impressive. Carpe, like a butterfly, stinging like a Mack truck to the face. Beautiful.
NYXL were taken off guard by Fusion, who, unlike Boston Uprising, chose an all-out hammer-down approach compared to a more counter approach by Boston Uprising. And with both Shadowburn's Genji and Carpe's Tracer and his Widowmaker matched toe-to-toe to their NYXL counterpart Pine and CBOB, Fusion won the game 3-2, forcing NYXL to face their first ever defeat. But the biggest of all was New York XL, defeating the undisputed champions of Overwatch, the one and only Seoul Dynasty, the Korean giants comprising of players from Lunatic High, which is by far the best team in Korea. Also, they are the winners of both the Overwatch World Cup seasons. It was an Overwatch match on an altogether different level, with both teams showing how deep their hero pool ran, with both teams flexing over to not just different heroes but subbing for each other's roles. We got to see all kinds of different strategies and mind games being employed by both the teams, giving neck-to-neck competition to each other. We saw NYXL's Jonak being an absolute monster on his Zen. Seoul Dynasty's Fleta, as always, was a joy to watch on his Widowmaker, while NYXL's Tank Duo, Meko and Mano, were absolutely amazing. Also, NYXL's Sabiobi showed his unmatched duelist capabilities while acting as a playmaker, proving to us that he is one of the best racers in the league. Oh my god, it was a matchup of the century, with Eichenwald and Lunar Colony map engagements being one of the best engagements in Overwatch League. Both teams ultimately forced each other to a tiebreaker round, with NYXL winning the match by pummeling the Korean Titans down to the ground and marking a pivotal point in the Overwatch League where there is no team that is left undefeated. We would be breaking down the whole match for you guys in a lengthy breakdown video analysis, detailing out all the key strategies employed and all the pivotal playmaking moments. The video will be coming out within the next few days, so be sure to subscribe to us to make sure you do not miss it. If I have to recommend a match to you guys, I will have to go for this very match between NYXL and Seoul Dynasty. Even over LA Gladiators versus LA Valiant, which was a breathtaking showdown. But I just cannot get myself to recommend it over NYXL versus Seoul Dynasty, even with the sheer tenacity of their match. I just feel NYXL versus Seoul Dynasty was just a class apart. Anyways, moving on to Dallas Fuel. Finally, Dallas Fuel seems to be stabilizing, taking their first win over SF Shock. This time, Dallas Fuel did not try to employ any crazy creative strats, instead going with the standard anti-dive composition where everyone could play pretty much the hero that they are most comfortable at. You could see that there was much less friction between them and their communication seemed to be better. They seemed to coordinate well with each other and were working as a team. We have a video on the way breaking down the problems with Dallas Fuel, so make sure to subscribe to us for that video and other standard Overwatch videos. Though Dallas Fuel seemed much more in their element, it was still not enough against Boston Uprising, with Dallas Fuel buckling down to Boston Uprising's impeccable communication and coordination. Just like against London Spitfire, Boston Uprising was focused and did their homework against Dallas Fuel, and with Boston Uprising's Tracer Striker showing excellent performance and playmaking abilities, Dallas Fuel just had no chance. Boston Uprising just keeps impressing me all throughout. They showed impressive performance for a mid-tier team, rounding off week 3 with a statement that you cannot count anybody out. In the end, Titans can fall and underdogs can flip the script around.
Needs to stay alive, needs to keep his teammates alive as well, more importantly, but Dreamcasper is not interested in that whatsoever, and the wick is burning! Boston Uprising, they've done it! 3-2 victory over the Spitfire, they've knocked them out of the sky, and they've ended the streak.
This was KanKicks kicking out.